Hello and welcome. We're so happy you're joining us for AcquaTalks Online. So to begin today, I selected 3 quotes. The first quote is by the famous Greek writer Aesop. Unity makes strength and all of us stronger. And these last 2 quotes I sourced from the website of today's presenter, David Taylor Klaus. If you're willing to feel everything, you can do anything. And this last one, your life is an occasion, rise to it. My name is Alexandra Wensley, your host for AcquaTalks Online, presented by the Estates at Aquilina, the world's finest residences, offering 248 ultra-luxury residences in Sunny Isles Beach. To help prepare us for a successful 2021 and beyond, today's AcquaTalks will take us on an interactive journey in creating a productive and fulfilling life and work rhythm. Our speakers, David Taylor Klaus, an author and leadership coach. At his business, DTK Coaching, he has spent 12 years coaching successful entrepreneurs and senior executives. Through coaching, David's clients uplevel from leadership competency to leadership mastery. The result, dramatic shifts in their performance and career trajectories and in personal fulfillment. Understanding that a powerful leader exists in each of us, David empowers his clients, both individuals and teams, to unearth and unleash their leadership potential and take an active, intentional, and dynamic role in their professional and personal lives. Over 3 decades focused on senior executives and the teams they lead, David has coached or consulted with thousands of companies spanning the public, private, and non-for-profit sectors. David is also the author of best-selling book, Mindset Mondays with DTK, 52 Ways to Rewire Your Thinking and Transform Your Life. Live from Atlanta, Georgia, please help me welcome Mr. David Taylor Klaus. Hello, David.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
I'm well. So happy you're with us.
Looking forward to this.
Good. You look great there.
Thank you.
Your office. So I'm going to let you take this over. Mm-hmm. But before I leave, I just want to tell the audience, please stay on till the end because I will be back with a Q&A. So you can leave your questions in the chat in the Q&A section. And then also we'll be giving away some of David's books. So you might be a lucky winner. So stay through till the end.
Good. And to be fair, we are definitely aware of what's happening today. I've been watching the quadrennial transfer of power since I was a kid. So we will have you off in time to watch at the top of the hour.
Indeed. Okay. All right. Take it away, David.
Great. So, and I am not a fan of PowerPoint, but I'm going to use it anyway to help. I'm not going to bore you with it. I promise it will help. Okay, so here's what we're going to play with is a concept called rewiring your thinking, and it's the way to transform your life. And so the reason we're here is, yes, there's a book. And I want to be really direct. The framework that I'm bringing up today is part of this book, and it was created in service of, but we learned a lot about how people have been using it, and it turns out to be incredibly effective, even outside the footprint of the book. So that's what we're bringing to you today. And a number of you are going to be getting copies at the end. I'm going to start with a quick flashback to give you some framework, what the shift was in mindset and how that changed my world. I'm going to show you what the framework is today. And I'm going to describe what I want for you in all this. A big part of leadership is the distinction between what we want from the people we serve and what we want for the people we serve. And going to have a chance for you to ask questions. So anything that comes up during the presentation, during this talk, if it spurs a question, toss it into the chat or the Q&A, and Alex will bring it to me at the end. All right. And as I said, a gift or 5. Alex is going to give away a number of my books today. All right, so flashback. This is This is when I realized the importance of mindset, and this is why. This is a flashback to the 10-year anniversary from my last company. So this going back to 2004, right? It was 10-year anniversary, and about 7% of companies ever see the 10-year mark. So it was definitely something to be celebrated. And at this point, I'd been married for a dozen years to a woman I'd known since I was 11. Not only were we in love, but we still actually liked each other. Love is hard. Love is easy, but like is the hard part. We had 3 amazing children, all of them in private school. We had the big house, the 3 cars, the 2 dogs, a house in the mountains. We had all of what looked fabulous on the surface, but every time I turned the doorknob to my office, my stomach turned. It ended up that I had gotten to a point where I was living the should life. I was leading the company that I thought I should lead. I was leading it the way I thought I should lead it. I was building the team I thought I should build, delivering the work I thought we should deliver. I was being the man I thought I should be. And it sucked. I had lost touch with who I was and what was really important to me. And the should life is no way to go. And that all too familiar slice of hell that many people experience in their world, particularly entrepreneurs at some point, hit this inflection point. It started with, actually, if you see in the small picture of me, it started with this medal over in the corner. I was competing in the master's class for rowing in the Georgia State Games. Now, master's just means it was age 27 and older. That was the first time I really felt old. I was way over 27, but being classed in masters, that was not encouraging. So we won the gold medal, and I was training for nationals. And if any of you have ever rowed before, I was in a single and I caught a crab. An oar hit me in the chest. I got thrown out of the boat, and the water in the Chattahoochee River here in Georgia is nasty. And I got wickedly sick. I spent 3 weeks deteriorating before an infectious disease specialist finally figured out what it is. While this is all going on, our eldest is going through a bunch of psychoeducational testing, and we discover that Bex needed to come off gluten. And I figured, okay, doc figured out what the heck's wrong with me. I can start eating again. So I go off gluten as well. Within 2 weeks, it's like my brain had rebooted. I felt like I had a new lease on life. A fog had lifted. I could be more present, more aware. I was sharper. I was more engaged. The change in my child was overnight and dramatic as well. But the mindset that I picked up through this clarity was, oh my God, look at everything I've missed. I picked up the mindset of lack, of scarcity, of missed opportunity. I didn't see any of the gifts. I didn't see any of the possibility of being a present parent, being a present partner, being a present leader. I didn't see anything that was available. I spent the next year spiraling into depression, focused only on what I had missed out on, the 39 years that I'd missed out and wasted. And because that was my mindset, everything I saw confirmed it. Everything. So it's late August 2005. This is what's happening in our country. Hurricane Katrina is barreling up onto New Orleans and the Gulf Coast. We are driving east along I-10 to get back to Atlanta. And what I see in the rearview mirror is literally the dark skies of the storm approaching, but it was nothing like the storm that was going on inside me. I had gotten to the point where the only thing I was clear about were the 5 best ways to kill myself. I had hit my bottom. And that's what happens when you adopt a mindset that you hold as a certainty. Confirmation bias is what happens. We start to see the world through that lens. Now, I didn't I didn't jump. I didn't attempt suicide. What stopped me was not my figuring out something, a motivation for me, not at all. I learned that children of parents who commit suicide are 50 times more likely to attempt suicide in their life. That's not the legacy I wanted for my children. That's not who I wanted to be for them. I had lost touch with what I wanted for me, but I knew what I wanted for them. And so this is the mindset I held. Is to be present for them and to recreate myself for them. Changing my mindset made a huge difference. It allowed me to begin to see the world in a different way. So what we learned from Carl Jung gets credit for this quote. It's actually originally from the Talmud, that we do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. That gives us an immense amount of power. That means that when we change the lens through which we see the world, we change the way we experience it. We can harness the power of confirmation bias. When we change the lens through which we see the world, we change the way we experience it. I was challenged by a coach many years ago to write the book I needed to read. Well, the book I needed to read was a way to help me change my thinking. And a way for me to refocus on what was important, a way for me to take control of my world by taking control of the lenses that I use to see that world. So I read something really depressing in 2015. That only 41% of people who buy a book read past chapter 1. I'll be honest, 3 of the books on this shelf, I don't even want to tell you how many on the shelf behind the camera. 3 of those books I haven't cracked. They're shelfware. One I bought because I love the author. One I like the title. And the other one I swear I'm going to read eventually. But I didn't want this book to be shelfware. So I built a framework that enables people to take learning, a new way of thinking or a new mindset, and with a structured approach, take it out into the world, play with it, experiment with it, learn from it even deeper, and then make it real. So Rewire is an acronym, and it's an acronym for reflect, experiment, write, investigate, revise, and expand. And here's the way it breaks down. Okay? Reflect is the chance to give yourself time and space to play with, to think about, and to put attention on whatever it is that you're trying to play with. So let's say it's a mindset you're trying to adopt, a new way of thinking. Spend time with it and then experiment. And in the book, and I'll show you how in just a moment, each chapter has a custom set of 6 prompts for each of the chapters that walks you through what to reflect on, how to experiment with it, and then to write about it, to journal. Here's what's important about writing. It's different than typing on a computer. It's different than dictating. It's different to write by hand. Brené Brown says writing takes thinking from head to heart to hand to paper. You process, you encode and decode language differently. You process it and think about it differently, and it helps land learning. So it's important, and it's so important that in the printed version of the book, there's a journaling page available for each of the chapters to actually reduce the number of excuses people have. You've got the journal page right there to start writing, and then dig deeper into what you've captured and what you've written. Revise the experiment and take it out into the world again, play with it again, deepen the learning, and then, most importantly, take whatever you've learned and extend that to other areas of your world. Think back, I don't want this to be a trigger. Think back to math class when you were in school. As I was coming through, they used to teach us chapter 1, then the teacher would go through chapter 2, and then at the end of chapter 2, you went back and tested on chapter 1, because by then you had taken what you had learned in chapter 1 and applied it to another area. That's exactly what the expand idea is. The more we take learning and we sit with it and experiment with it and investigate it and revise and expand it and take it out into our world, the better chance we have of deepening the learning. How often do you read a new book or go to a new event and the new information is rich and engaging, and then you go back to the office on Monday and the calls start and the email starts coming in and everything gets lost? You go back to the same old patterns. This is a way to break it. As I said, there are prompts at the end of every chapter. There are prompts to walk you through this. You don't even have to make up your own prompts. The structure is built for you in the book and a journal page to get you going on it. This is part of what I want for you. When we know and believe and live from the perspective that we are in ultimate control over the way we experience the world because we're in control over the lenses we use, then we're able to manage and navigate ourselves, our time, our behavior, our energy to be and to do what really matters most. But that first step is to practice shifting the way you think, shifting what you believe, to be intentional. And I get riled about this. I tend to get preachy about it because this is the opportunity, particularly for the last year. I mean, this book was supposed to have come out in February, right before lockdown. Thanks to the publisher's way of doing things, it didn't come out until September, which is perfect timing. It gave folk the opportunity, as they were getting to a new sense of abnormal, to start thinking about how they were going to invent or reinvent themselves out of this upheaval. And the first step is always to look at, what are the unwritten beliefs that I have and hold? How can I shift those? I watched high performers, one after another, even in real estate, early on in the pandemic say, oh my God, the economy's gone sideways. There's nothing here. There's no business. Some shut down, some moved on. Yet others sold more listings in second quarter than all of 2019 sales. Coaches around the country their communities were shrinking and their client base was shrinking. By April, I had doubled my community, and again by October. There's a difference between holding a mindset of scarcity, and therefore you see and experience scarcity everywhere, and holding a mindset of sufficiency and possibility, so that you see sufficiency and possibility everywhere. Change your lens, change your world. So this is the opportunity for us to play. I have not been watching chat or Q&A. I've been leaving that up to you, Alexandra. So whatever questions we have, what I'd love to do is let you all jump in the sandbox and play.
There we go.
What questions do the folks have?
Yes, thank you, David. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very deep and moving. I'm sure everybody felt that. But, what I got from your messaging is, be present all the time. But for me, I love all listening to, we do these amazing AcquaTalks with great speakers like you. And it's like, I want to keep learning so I don't lose it, because
Exactly.
you learn and you feel great. And then a week goes by and then you kind of get caught up in everything.
Yeah, where did that go? I remember that. Yeah. I find notebooks of stuff that I haven't looked at in 2 years. And it's like, this was one of those amazing week-long programs. What happened?
Right.
It is true that if you don't use it, you lose it. And our brains work like muscles that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it seems like with your book, you could go through each chapter and then kind of get motivated to the end. And And are they shorter chapters? Because I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, actually, I learned something from a multi-published author, Sam Horn, that when chapters are short, immediately accessible, and immediately actionable,
Yes.
people get a sense of accomplishment as they rip through the book. There's not a single chapter that's more than 1,000 words.
Yeah.
They're 3 or 4 pages. You can devour them quickly and then use those prompts to actually play with it.
Yeah.
I've got a couple companies where the leader is taking the team through one chapter every Monday. And they work on it throughout the entire week, and that's they're book clubbing this book as part of their leadership meetings.
That's a great idea. So what gave you the idea behind the book, and also what do you want us to get out of it? What do you want people who read it?
Didn't want to write a book. That was not my plan. No. That was my marketing person's plan. I mean, I've been working with the same branding and marketing person since 1996. And so I came to her in 2017 and I said, I want to get more facile speaking to any topic through the lens of my point of view, live and off the cuff. And she said, okay, well, my business cards have a different quote. There are 50 different business cards. All the backs are different. And there are 50 different quotes. So she said, flip on a live stream, pick up one of the cards and riff on it for 10 minutes. So I don't know, everything in my world is about mindset and leadership. So I started Mindset Mondays on Groundhog Day 3 years ago, and people started showing up for the live streams. People started communicating and messaging during the live broadcast and in between, and we started a Facebook group for them. And this thing has blossomed, and I learned a ton from the community. So the book is a combination of what I know and have learned and have researched about mindset and leadership in that intersection, and what I learned from the community and watching this play out literally with folks around the globe. And Jody evidently said to me at the beginning, oh yeah, we'll do this live broadcast series, and then it'll be a book, and then a talk, and then
great. I know, marketing geniuses.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of it. She said live broadcast, and my stomach turned over. So I didn't hear anything else. So it became pretty apparent that this was going to be a book. And 52 chapters. So you can definitely use it to roll through an entire year with it.
Wow, that's great. So so you've been sharing quotes with us with AcquaTalks, usually every monthly online talk we do. We share quotes and we find them inspiring. So tell us, like, why do you use them? Because when you go to your website, you see, there's a whole section. Tell us why you use quotes.
I am an admitted quote nerd, just is. But here's why. I hold quotes with the same respect and sense of reality that I do any one of those assessments or instruments that you use, whether it's Myers-Briggs or HBDI or any of the instruments or 360 tools out there. None of them, the data from them, just like a quote by itself, none of them are worth anything. They're useless. The only power and the one true power of a quote is the conversations that are available because of it. So if a quote inspires you to think more deeply, think differently, expand thought, focus thought, anything that can trigger a deeper, richer conversation, that's the power of a quote.
Love that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So when I was doing research for this talk, I saw that you're part of Forbes.com's coaching council, their coaches council. And so you were quoted in one of the articles, and it was about networking. It's what we all do, especially in real estate and hospitality. And you said, be specific. So this is kind of what you said to remind you, because this was a couple of years ago that I found the article. It said, you said, be painfully specific about what you do, for whom you do it, and why they like having it done for them. If you're not specific, people don't know how to connect with you or how to help you, let alone hire you. Loved it. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, David Ogilvy, an advertising genius from half a century ago, said, a confused mind always says no. So scroll through your LinkedIn feed and look at the LinkedIn titles when people have 5, 6, 8, 9 different things that they specialize in. Well, you don't know who to call, or when to call them, or why, or what they're superb at. I have lots of things that I'm good at. I have lots of things in my zone of excellence.
Yeah.
but I have one thing that I'm brilliant at. It's my zone of genius. And that's what I want to be known for. That's
Yeah.
what I want to be called for. That's what I want to be hired for. So I was given a challenge about 6 years ago
Mhm.
by a branding expert who said, I do my work with entrepreneurs and senior executives. I always have, because the psychographic between them is very similar.
Mm.
Demographics are different, but the psychographic is.
Mhm.
But to talk about it with people, Mike Ween said, just say one thing. I said, I reintroduce successful entrepreneurs to their families. And he said, just say that and say it. Just say that for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
6 new clients in the next 3 weeks. Not one of them
Mhm.
was an entrepreneur. They were all executives. 3 of them didn't have kids or weren't married. But the point was, it gave them something specific that could be taken in their language that spoke to the value of the outcome of doing the
Mhm.
work. And whether it made them think, oh my God, I'm over calibrated towards work, I'm missing a personal life, or I'm
Mhm.
whatever, however they interpreted it, being specific.
Okay.
And by the way, you can be much more specific, right? I have a doctor who does holistic health work for men in their 50s who have just reached remission. So super narrow
Yeah.
niche. Now, if somebody says I'm a woman and I'm in my 40s and I've just hit remission, but I'm interested in the kind of health lifestyle you're putting out there, of course, come join the program. But when he speaks to it, he speaks very
Mhm.
specifically about what he does, to whom he does it,
Yes.
and why they like having it done to them. It makes it easy for people to say yes, no, or I know these 5 people.
Right. And they can connect with you better.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
And
Great.
wait, there's another piece about networking that I want to just hammer the drum on.
Okay.
Stop taking business cards with you.
Oh,
Don't
stop
bring your
taking them
business
with you?
cards. No, don't take them with you. And stop offering them as soon as you say hello. If you're in China or Japan, yes, hand it over with
Yeah.
2
And you have to
hands and
look at the
receive it and
business
look at it.
card.
Right.
Yeah.
Do that.
Mhm.
Stop taking them with you, because you're just going to get stuck in a pile of noise.
Mm.
Connect with the person. Talk
Yes.
to them. If they ask you for a business card, say, don't have any with me. How about you give me yours and I'll reach out to you?
Mm.
Make it a way that you can connect independently and individually outside of the morass of whatever event you're at, no matter how
Mhm.
network focused it is or isn't. Make it about connecting with the person. Stop connecting with their job.
Yes.
It's
Love that.
gross.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
So going on, like many of us, we measure ourselves against others.
Oh,
And,
hair on the back of my neck stood up
I
when you
know,
said
I'm
that.
sorry, but most of us do it. And it
I
brings us
do.
down.
Yeah.
So how do we get away from that mindset to find, what's important?
Yeah, it's super easy to get distracted by comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle,
Mhm.
right? I was looking at book rollout. I start looking at Michael Bungay Stanier's rollout, or Daniel Pink, or Simon Sinek. I'm like, oh, their first book went like this. My last book didn't. But we have different communities, different topics, different time, different markets, different everything.
Mhm.
But I look at it at the surface, and as Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. Sucks the
Mhm.
energy and the life out of you. The only
Mhm.
comparison that means anything is comparing yourself to the best version of you in that moment. Are you being the best version of you can
Yeah.
be? Compare yourself to that. Everything else is noise and distraction. It's irrelevant. Comparing apples to oranges, no matter how
Yep.
similar you think they are,
Okay.
no matter how much you think you should be like them, you're not.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, that's good. So this came in from one of our sales executives at the Estates at Aquilina, Yancy Cheka. She said, the world is experiencing darkness, and some are feeling hopeless and loneliness, and many don't see any direction. What can we do with so much uncertainty in the world to work on ourselves, to be a better human being and have more confidence?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try not to soapbox here, because this is a really, it's a brilliant question, and it's a big topic, because much like the question about comparison, this is about refocusing on what's true and important. Yes, there's a lot of events happening in the world, and it's easy to get overwhelmed with despair or lack of direction or uncertainty. Things are always uncertain. It's just been brought more apparent to the surface. Things are always uncertain. But what are you clear about? It's time, it's the opportunity, and what these last 11 months have been is a brilliant opportunity to get people refocused on the most important relationship in their lives, which is the relationship with themselves. What's true? What do you know that's true? What is not? To test the assumptions you're making and the beliefs you hold to see which ones are real and which ones are made up. And this is important. There's a great book to read for all of you. It's another brilliant tiny book. It's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel
Oh, yeah, I
Ruiz.
read that years ago.
Take it back out of your
Yeah,
stack
I
and
have
put it
it
on
still.
top.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to reevaluate the belief structures that you have inherited from your family, your community, your country, your region, whatever, and reevaluate and determine which ones are yours and not yours, which ones are true for you and not true for you. The more of the clutter you can clear away. When Michelangelo talked about sculpture, he said he didn't carve figures. He freed the figures from the stone. His work in sculpture is your work with you. Chip away everything that isn't true and you and real. That's the work to do, especially when there's a time with less direction, because then the compass becomes an internal one and you stop looking to the outside to find direction or certainty.
Look within. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So, moving on, we always talk about being a leader, leadership qualities. These people possess them. Maybe I don't. So how do we become a leader? And, where do we start? We might not be the boss, but can't we still be a leader to the people we're surrounded by?
Yeah, always. Okay. So leadership starts here. And I wish off the top of my head I could tell you which chapter that was in the book. But that's why leadership starts here. First, lead yourself. Okay. And that's the most important piece, is that you have control over what direction you go. When you take that leadership position with yourself first, before you lead a family, a team, a country, a community, an organization, it doesn't matter. Leadership starts here. When I work with leaders who say, oh my God, I want to grow the company, and say, how do we grow our people so we can grow the company? I say, well, you want to grow your company? Yes. Grow your people. If you want to grow your people, grow yourself. This always comes back to you from the beginning. Leadership starts here.
Okay.
I always look at the first question in leadership is always, what part of the problem am I? What part of this situation am I? What part of this creation am I? It's very easy to look outward, but blame throwing is no more effective than credit hoovering. You have to be in blameless discernment, without judgment about what is yours, what do you own, and therefore what can you control. And starting your leadership from that perspective makes a tremendous difference. It makes it easier to take the second step, which is be very clear about what you want for the people you serve. I love that you use the word boss, Alexandra, because I hold the distinction that a boss is very aware of how many people report to him. A leader is very clear about how many people she serves. There's a tremendous difference in approach. The job of a leader is to serve.
To serve, yeah.
Right, is to, yes, you're serving the organization as a whole, and yes, you're serving whatever stakeholders or shareholders there are, and you're serving every one of those that work for the organization to make it easier for them to do their job so the organization can achieve its goals.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
So wanting for is the second step.
Okay. So you're saying it starts, from within. So what are the steps to identifying like our own strengths, our own faults, where, what we need to work on? That's a hard one, but where could we start? Maybe we read the book, but.
Well, it's amazing how clear we can be about other people's strengths and other people's faults. And we can look at anybody and have, laser sharp ability to identify it. And then we point that laser at the mirror and it goes dark.
Yeah.
Like, oh, because it's hard to be objective about ourselves, our own strengths, our own weaknesses, and ask the people around you.
Yeah.
Ask the people around you. When I leave the room, what's missing? When you think about me, what words come up? What do you see as my strengths? What are the areas that I can shift things? Ask the people around you. And the more you can have it done so that they can be anonymous in their answers,
Yeah, that's better.
the better.
I think so
Because
too.
you rather than be honest than try not to hurt your feelings.
Right.
And okay, I've done this, and I'm not just suggesting,
Mhm.
hey, go out here and put yourself through that meat grinder. It's uncomfortable to hear the feedback,
Yes.
and it's easier if you get to read it.
True. And you can
Because the
take it in,
trick
I
is
guess.
to be neutral
Yeah.
while you're receiving it, so you don't, when my face begins to cave in as I start to hear some of the weaknesses, they're going to
Right.
shift what they're saying to try to make me
Yeah.
feel better, and that
I
messes
guess
it
it's that
up.
defensive mechanism too, right? We're
Yeah,
always defending
self-protection,
ourselves.
because you can't not take it personally. But here's the cool thing. I learned this from a friend who does leadership within the 12-step community. We're not responsible for our first thought. Okay, so you take it personally. It lands, it feels gross, your face goes, ew, right? But we are responsible for our second thought,
Huh.
right? Our first thought is a reaction. We are
Mhm.
still, spoiler alert, animals. We still
Yeah.
have primal reactions,
Mhm.
but then we can choose how we respond from there, right? You don't have to learn how to be a pro poker player where you have no facial expressions,
Right.
but learn how to recenter. Part of that
Yeah.
leadership, again, is learning to get back to center.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's always good to get the feedback and get it anonymously
Yes.
so that you can get real, legitimate,
Mhm.
unfiltered feedback. And then you know what areas there are to play with.
Mhm.
I didn't say
Okay.
work on, play
Yeah.
with.
Mhm. So another question was about we're all doing these Zoom meetings.
Oh,
So can you give we're all we're on Zoom all the time, Microsoft Teams, whatever it is. So can you give us suggestions on how to design productive conversations and even productive meetings
yeah.
going forward, especially now? I mean, throughout this whole year, we'll probably be continuing with the Zoom.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing these for 13 years.
Oh,
I
wow.
have clients that span 12 time zones. So most of my client work has been done over video. Otherwise, I'd be on a plane all the time. And one of my values is being present in here with and for my family.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of this. And thank God for Zoom, because Skype was terrible. So one of the most important things is it's hard enough for people to feel heard
Mhm.
when you're face to face, because people get so caught up in what they're talking about, and it's wrapped up around the speaker is wrapped up around who they are. And I mean the person speaking in a room, not speaker as in presenter,
Okay.
that sometimes they're not hearing or noticing what's happening with the people around them. You have a chance to have it on gallery view so you can see the responses of the people around you, even when you're not speaking. It gives you a chance to read the room in a way that you could if you were there for the meeting present. When you have some people on camera and some people off camera, not great for team
Right.
meetings, especially. Everybody on camera, right?
Okay.
And the other thing is being listened to
Mhm.
feels so much like being loved that people can scarcely tell the difference. So make sure you listen. Make sure you have a chance, not that you're waiting to speak, but you're listening to connect. You're listening to the other people when they're speaking, and you're giving them space. And in the structure of the meeting, you're giving space for people to be heard on whatever issue or topic is being navigated in that meeting. There were more opportunities for that, reading body language or people leaning in and raising their hand and speaking out to have a conversation. We have to recreate that dynamic. When you're battling the tyranny of the flat glass, you have to be intentional about creating that environment. That's the key to any Zoom meeting, any Zoom presentation, always.
Okay.
Oh,
Very good.
and here's a buzzkill about Zoom. I said put it on gallery, I know. Well, here's the problem. If you've got 20 people on the screen and you're looking at the person on the bottom left who's talking, everybody else thinks you're looking off somewhere else, probably at your phone. Or you're looking at the person on the top right and it looks like you're looking off at somebody else or checking the clock.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. So there are a couple of tricks that we use, because there's no camera right in the middle of the screen.
Right.
I haven't come up with that technology yet. So when you're looking at the camera, everybody else in the room thinks you're looking right at them.
Okay.
But when I'm looking down at Alex, it looks like I'm not paying
Oh,
attention.
it doesn't look like you're looking at me. Okay.
Right. So that's the challenge. So if I
Oh.
look at the camera, I also lose sight of everybody in the room. So
Mm.
part of that is to take your gallery view,
Okay.
make it small or a band across the top. It's easier to keep, the more you can keep the images close to the camera, the
Okay.
easier it is to be more engaged and be able to catch the room and still look so people think you're looking at them. You'll start to notice when you're on this endless parade of Zoom time, who's looking at the camera and who's not,
Mm.
who's looking at other people on the screen and who's got the big monitor spread out.
Yeah. But
And
I like
it
looking at
makes a
other people
difference.
too. Isn't that
Yeah,
okay?
it's
Okay.
it's a challenge, and
Okay.
psychologists and psychiatrists have been writing about this for the last year,
Mm.
and there's no solution yet. There's not a
Right.
camera that sits behind the speaker.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you. So with all that said, so we had a few questions that got brought up. How do you want the audience to leave with? Of course, we're going to give away a few books in a few moments so they could read your book, but what's the key takeaway from your message today?
absolutely. Ah, you are in control. I can't hammer that enough. I want to
Mhm.
scream it because seriously, that when you change your lens, you change your world. And practice that, play with that with smaller things,
Okay.
right? I don't know if any of you or your listener of the viewers here have heard of like a gratitude journal or a celebration journal.
Oh, yes.
The reason it's an incredibly effective tool, and it's nothing more than 5 minutes at the
Mhm.
end of the day, right before you go to bed, write down either 3 things that you can celebrate from the day or 3 things for which you're grateful from the day. And I didn't screw up doesn't count, right? I mean, three things you can actually celebrate,
Yes.
right? And write those down. And you wake up in the morning, before you check your phone,
Mhm.
before you check your email, read those 3 things again.
Yeah.
What that does is it frames a mindset of either gratitude or success, and it allows you to bookend your day.
Hmm. I like that, reading it again in the morning, because I did it
Absolutely.
at night. I did it for a while last year with my kids too, before we went to bed.
Yep.
What were they grateful for in the day? And I probably did it for a good 2 months and now it stopped. So I have to bring it back again. But I like your idea to read it in the morning again, because you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a nice bookend in the
Yeah,
morning. And
it
yeah.
gives you success breeds success. So
Mhm.
if it's giving you another sense of gratitude in the morning just to
Yeah.
kickstart your day, that's a
Yeah.
mindset you actually carry. And what's nice is it becomes an undercurrent. You start looking for things to celebrate. You start
Mhm.
looking for things to be
Mm.
grateful for. Because I got to write something down at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it gets you in the mindset of looking for it. And it's amazing how much more you see when
Right.
you're
And
looking
it's the
for it.
little things too, correct? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Um, well, thank you so much for your time. So we have 4 winners for they're going to receive Mindset Mondays.
Beautiful.
So we have Carrie Doan, Robert Tusi, Adelisa Figueroa, and Tamara Swan. So congratulations. We will send you an email separately and collect your mailing addresses. And then David will kindly mail you one of his books. And David, are you going to sign them?
Of course. Absolutely.
Great. Great. Well, thank you again. So I'm going to close with a quote. And so I pulled this quote, I think, from your website too, because you just had so many beautiful quotes. The soul that gives thanks can find comfort in everything.
Mm.
The soul that complains can find comfort in nothing. So true.
Yeah.
So true. It's all about positivity.
That's a good one for the sales agent who wrote in about the uncertainty piece.
Yes.
It's a great quote for them.
And actually, before we do leave, any other tips for our real estate experts? You know, we all want to sell these beautiful multi-million-dollar residences. I have one right behind me.
Yeah.
So any tips for this year for them? They're doing so well. Real estate market's doing wonderful in Miami, but
we're really comfortable and we're really familiar with being in a conversation with somebody, particularly a situation where a sale could be involved, with somebody who wants something from us.
Mhm.
It's incredibly rare we're in a conversation with somebody who wants something for us. So if you get clear what you want for these prospective owners
Mm,
before they walk into a unit, before they come to the building, before they step foot on property, if you're clear what you want for them,
okay.
let that shape the energy of your conversation. Let it shape the arc of their visit.
Mhm.
Let that be the energy of it instead of, I want to close this deal and sign this
Right.
lease, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great tip.
Wanting for has a very different energy than wanting from. And as you start noticing your interactions with
Yeah.
people, even personal interactions, you'll be able to taste the difference between
Yes.
somebody who wants something from you and somebody that wants something for you. And every one of these prospective buyers knows the difference too.
Hmm. That's great. Okay. Well, David, thank you so much. And thank you
My pleasure.
everyone for joining us. We will see you next month for another AcquaTalks Online. Bye-bye.
Take care.